Hi, welcome back to Our Life, and now we're on to what are they called? Moments. The moment of growing. We're just going to jump right into it today. Early one afternoon, you found yourself in the living room with your family. It was another one of those summer days where it felt too hot to go outside, but it was too uncomfortable to do anything inside either. The air conditioner was cranked up as far as you could negotiate it, but everyone was still being pretty lazy. You, your moms, and your sister were lounging around while the TV blared on in the background, ignored by all of you. You specifically were, me, perched on the arm of the couch. Elizabeth had claimed the entire couch for herself. It was too hard to argue over the space, so you didn't bother her. Elizabeth broke the silence with a loud groan. You glanced over. She was lying on her back over the couch, massaging her calf with one hand. Ugh, I feel terrible. I'm dying in this house and my legs hurt. Mom looked up from the magazine she'd barely been flipping through and frowned, concerned. Could you have strained them somehow? Elizabeth flailed briefly, then flopped onto her side with a heavy sigh. I don't know, it just hurts. Growing pains. Oh, sweetheart. Ma got up from her seat at the kitchen table and walked over to your sister. She did a light pat on Elizabeth's shoulder sympathetically. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Maybe it's growing pains. You could be taller by next fall. Elizabeth scoffed. She didn't look impressed by Ma's assessment. I'd rather be my height forever than deal with this. Mom walked over too, leaning against the back of the couch. Kids, they grow up so fast. Soon Elizabeth will have a home of her own, maybe even with a nice husband and some kids if she feels like it. She sniffed loudly and wiped at her eye, but you could tell that it was just a bit. You tilted your head. Even though you knew Elizabeth liked guys, it was hard to imagine her with a boyfriend or husband. She only seemed invested in hanging out with her group of friends, not chasing after boys. Me too, man. Mom must agree with you because she shook her head. No. Let's not exaggerate, she's still practically a child. But if you do pursue romance, Elizabeth, you come talk to me about it. Definitely. We're always willing to lend an ear. Elizabeth's features contorted in disgust. No way! I am not talking to my moms about that! Mom's jaw dropped and she gasped in an exaggerated display of shock. Her hand came up to rest against her chest. Ma only grinned. She didn't look offended by Elizabeth's quick response at all. It really wouldn't be so bad to come to us. I know what it's like to have a crush on a pretty boy or two. I don't, but I can listen anyway. Ma snorted at her own joke while Ma burst into giggles. They were having a little too much fun at Elizabeth's expense. Elizabeth certainly wasn't feeling the amusement because she rolled her eyes and sat up. I'm going back to my room. I'd rather melt alone, thanks. She strode off towards the staircase, taking the steps two at a time. Your mom stared after her, then turned to each other with raised eyebrows. Whoops, looks like we scared her off with all that romance talk. Oh well, we'll get her next time. You watched them titter with some surprise. Obviously, your mom's liked women, but you had no idea that Ma liked guys too. Today was the first time you'd heard her say something like that. Wait, you've had crushes on guys? Since when? Ma turned to you, happy to bring you into things now that you've spoken up. She smiled and nodded. Always, I like both. But I like your mom most out of everyone. She's special. Ma's smile turned all soft in the corners, like it usually did when she looked at her. She pinched Mom's cheeks lightly. Mom reached up to cup a hand over Ma's. Even when Ma stopped pulling her cheek, their hands remained clasped together. Thanks, Lonnie. I think most women have charm, but no one can hold a candle to you. Aw, Pamela. Oh, they're so cute, but gross because they're my parents. I don't want to see any affection from my parents. That's nasty. Ma beamed, then kissed Ma on the cheeks she'd been pinching before. You cringed. Parents are embarrassing. You slouched down as if it would hide you from sight. Why were parents like that? Ma looked back to you, letting Mom's hand go with a brief squeeze. She settled down next to you and Ma followed soon after. You know, I'm also here to listen to you whenever you're ready. That offer isn't just for Elizabeth. In fact, I think that talk might be needed sooner for you. After all, you already have someone, isn't that right? Are we having this talk right now? Ma shook her head and elbowed Ma, but it was futile. Meddler. Ma! Ma only giggled and smiled, not looking the least bit apologetic. There's no rush, of course. You can take all the time you need to figure out what or who you want. Don't think you have to stick with whatever you come up with right now either. Life's nice like that. It can change and you can learn. Mom nodded her agreement. The two of us are happy to hear you out, and we may be able to relate better than you think. Still, we won't push the topic, at least, most of the time. She gave Ma the weakest scathing look possible while being unable to stop grinning. Thanks, actually. I'll think about it. Good, that's all we ask for. Ma let out another exaggerated sniffle. It didn't take a genius to realize it was fake. First Elizabeth, now you, Jamie. Do you have to grow up? Yes, children tend to do that from time to time. Your parents quickly grew absorbed in their conversation about rearing kids. You took that as your cue to leave, getting up so you could spend some time alone in your room, too. They let you go without problem, so you made your way upstairs. You let out a sigh once you stepped into your room. It was just as sweltering in there as it was in the living room, possibly even a little warmer. You couldn't even open your window since it was hotter outside, and you just let the AC out. You dragged your feet as you crossed the room. You checked your current sweltering condition in the mirror as you passed by. You thought back to the conversation you'd had downstairs, about growing up and all that. After a moment, you stepped a bit closer to the mirror. You stared into it, then turned away from the surface to look down at yourself. You were definitely growing, alright. It was weird thinking about how you were now in comparison to what you'd been when you were younger. When it came to your body, I have some muscle nowadays, but I was sort of slender back in the day. I try and work out. I want to have muscle definition, but I don't have any. You shifted to your side, your head still facing forward and continuing the self-evaluation from this viewpoint. I was female, and boobs. There was no mistaking it. Even with your shirt helplessly helping to obscure your form, you had boobs now. Unfortunately, it hurts my back every day, but, what can you do? You took a step backwards, finishing with your impromptu inspection. You locked eyes with your reflection, cocking your head to the side. All things considered, yeah, that's literally how I feel about myself. Oh my gosh, how did they capture that essence of me? I'm pretty neutral. Like, I'm not super self-conscious. I don't think I look bad, but I don't think I'm like a smoke show. Like, I'm pretty just cool, I'm pretty chill. You tilted your head over to the opposite side, but you still couldn't find anything to have much of an opinion on. You shook your head roughly, putting thoughts of what you were turning into out of your mind. This wasn't the time to focus on such things. You had to find something to do in this heat. You shuffled over to your bed, collapsing onto the mattress, your brows scrunched up in thought. Time passed slowly, and to your annoyance, possible ideas about what to do were few and far between. You weren't sure how long it had been, but eventually you heard your mom call you from downstairs. Jamie, there's a call for you. Cove wants to come over. Is that all right? You perked up at the words, sitting up in bed. You yelled back to her immediately. Yeah! You got to your feet and headed downstairs, eager to see your friend. You needed to go downstairs soon anyway, because your empty stomach told you it was almost time for lunch. Just as you reached the bottom of the stairs, you saw Mom put the phone back on the receiver. She glanced at Ma, leaning her hip against the kitchen counter. Well, here comes trouble. We better prepare ourselves. Ma clicked her tongue in clear disapproval of Mom's words. He's such a good boy. Cove never wants to cause trouble. He can just be a bit thoughtless and impulsive. Oh, I know. He's very sweet, but that's what makes it more of a problem. If a stranger or some kid from school were egging Jamie on to behave badly, I think we can both agree that she'd do the right thing in the end. But if Cove Holden got into a reckless mood and wanted Jamie to be a part of the ride, can we really be certain of what call she'd make then? Yes, I think so. Jamie helps Cove settle down. He would have gotten himself in even more trouble without her.
Thanks.
You have a point. Ma just laughed. As she turned away, still snorting, her eyes met yours. She blinked in surprise, then waved at you with an easy grin. Mom looked over, noticing you at the foot of the stairs as well. Oh, I didn't expect you to come down already, Jamie. I just want to let you know what was happening. I'll probably call her out. Well, if I hadn't come now, then I wouldn't have heard everything you said. Oh, you got caught, Pam. What? You were saying things too. I didn't say anything I wouldn't have told Jamie directly. Oh, you're unbelievable. You shook your head at your parents, even as you fought a blush when you remembered just what they'd been discussing. All right, you got me. I'm sorry for being gossipy and saying that about your friend. I can be bad too.
Let's go.
Well, get out of your way now. Mom sighed in mock defeat and made her way down the hall. Ma followed after her with a hushed giggle. Now you were alone in the living room, tasked with waiting for Cove. And that was just fine with you. If you hadn't been so odd outside, you would have visited him at his house a long time ago. You took a seat at the kitchen counter and settled in for the wait. As expected, there was a knock on the door a few minutes later. When you got up and answered it, your neighbor was standing on the other side. He came in once you stepped aside to let him pass, giving a little wave. You greeted him as you typically did. With a wave, with a low five, with a nudge to the shoulder. You reached over and nudged his shoulder. Cove rocked to the side a bit and rolled his eyes, but he was smiling. Cove sighed and wiped his face a bit. You noticed the sheen of sweat across his brow. He must be glad to be back in the air-conditioned place, even if he only had to walk across the street to get there. So, what's with the sudden visit? I don't want to do anything, not when it's like this. He gestured vaguely to the humid air hanging around. I thought I could at least do nothing with you. Aww. That made sense to me. You might have done the same thing. Have you had lunch yet? I was gonna do it soon. He shook his head. I haven't really felt like eating because of the heat. Probably should have lunch. I didn't have breakfast this morning. Great, we can eat lunch together. Cove nodded, looking content with your suggestion. Of course. Okay, cool. As one, you headed into the kitchen. You crossed your arms as you glanced around, wondering what you should scrounge up for a meal. I don't want to eat anything that's warmed up. Is there something cold or not cooked? Yeah. After a bit of back and forth, the two of you concluded that you should raid the fridge and cabinet in order to make sandwiches. That's what I was thinking. With that settled, you had planned to decide on the outside layers first. There was a wide variety to choose from, since everyone in your house had their own favorites. There was white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, mixed grain, gluten-free bread, and pita pockets. Could you take the grain one for me? Sure. Reached for the mixed grains, then made your decision. I know, it's gonna... Ooh, a lettuce wrap. Cinnamon swirl bread? I'm going with the lettuce wrap. You went to the fridge to get a lettuce wrap, too, setting both items onto the counter. Then you had to decide what main direction the sandwich would go in. Okay, I only have one option. A savory style of sandwich. Something savory would make it feel like a real meal. As for the specific ingredients, definitely cucumber. I'm already using lettuce, but more lettuce is fine. Some ham. That's enough. For the finishing touch, you intended to top your sandwich with mayo and mustard. And that was everything. You nodded to yourself with a quiet hum, satisfied. That's making me hungry. It's almost dinner time. I'm gonna go eat after this. Not that you care, but I am. The two of you bustled around the kitchen, opening and closing things in order to collect everything you needed for your individual sandwiches. You focused intently on assembling your own, for the most part. When you were close to being done, though, you glanced over at your neighbor. Cove was putting his sandwich together delicately, his brow furrowed and tongue sticking out just barely. There were open jars of peanut butter and honey near his plate, as well as a banana peel. Oh, interesting. Peanut butter banana sandwich? I like it. So he's making a peanut butter banana and honey sandwich mixed on grain bread. That sounds really good, actually. Wow, how does the game read my mind? That sounded great. Maybe you'd have one yourself at a different time. Curiosity satiated, you turned back to your own plate and finished your own creation. By the time you were done, Cove had already cleaned up his workstation. He turned to face you, studying your sandwich briefly. A small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. You guessed it didn't look inedible to him, at least. Done? Yeah. Cool. He waited as you quickly returned the ingredients and cleaned a few utensils. Then the two of you collected your respective plates. You both agreed on heading upstairs to hang out in your room. You and Cove entered your bedroom while balancing your food on the plates. Nothing fell, so it was a successful trip. Cove took a seat on the ground, stretching out on the hardwood floor in an attempt to keep a bit cooler. He immediately took a big bite of his sandwich, chewed, then hummed happily. This sandwich is really good. At least that's something. At that point, you sat down and started on your own sandwich. Yeah. Obviously, you were a pro at making sandwiches. He leaned back on his hands while chewing and glanced around. His every movement was sluggish. Want to do something? It seemed the plan of not doing anything at all had already worn thin, despite his lack of enthusiasm. Like what? He rolled his head back, looking up at the ceiling. What about Hangman? Oh, sure, whatever. You put your plate to the side and pulled out some markers and scrap paper. As you laid everything on the floor, he scooted back to make more room in front of you. Cove picked up one of the markers with his right hand while keeping a half slice of sandwich in his left. Can I pick the phrase? Okay, I wanted to guess first anyway. He smiled briefly before he bent over the paper and began sketching the hangman frame. Then he stopped, pursing his lips in thought. He tapped the end of his marker against his cheek. You watched silently as Cove looked down at the paper, up at your face, and then off to the side in a loop. His marker kept tapping his cheek the entire time. You raised an eyebrow. He'd suggested the game and wanted to pick the phrase, but it looked like he didn't actually have anything in mind for it. Finally, he put empty lines on the paper to signify spots for letters. Alright, you can start guessing. Am I literally gonna have to play Hangman right now? Okay, 3 words. He peered over His secret phrase consisted of 3 words. The first 2 had 3 letters, the last 4. He thought hard about what your first guess would be. Enter 1. Oh, I really have to play Hangman? Okay, well, I always go with the vowel first, so A. You got 1. After the first round, you were about to take another bite of your sandwich when a thought occurred to you. I wonder if anyone turned off the TV downstairs. The TV. It was on earlier, but no one was really watching, then everyone started leaving the living room. I know I didn't turn it off. It might still be on downstairs with no one there. Cove smiled crookedly at that. Poor show, playing with no one around to enjoy it. What was it? He squinted off into the middle distance, trying to recall the show's name. I feel like it was Some kind of crime-solving drama? Cove nodded sleepily. His eyes closed, then opened again with some effort. Can you give any specifics? Maybe I can guess it. Well, you rested your chin on your open palm, groggily, thinking as hard as you could. I remembered there was a woman with long blonde hair, I think. She was the one solving crimes, like, as a detective or something. There was a scene in a police station because someone got arrested. You lapsed into silence, the both of you thoughtful. Then Cove chuckled. It wasn't that funny, but you joined in the laughter anyway. I don't know what that is. Me neither, and I just saw it. Enter one letter of the alphabet. I. Nope, sorry. I'm gonna start adding the little person. Ugh. Another round came and went, and Cove grumbled as he readjusted himself. His features were twisted in a grimace. I feel so sticky. Ugh, I'm gonna be stuck to this floor forever now. It looks like we'll both, I'll have to charge you rent then. Yeah? How much? $50. I can't afford that. Well, you gotta pay up if you want to stick around. Cove shook his head at your terrible pun and went back to the game instead of answering further. Then you returned to the game. Okay. N? That's a point from... Oh, come on! Cove spoke up once more, catching your attention. He was peering down at the piece of paper between you, his expression thoughtful. You know Hangman is kind of a creepy game. Why did people come up with it? Why did they play it? I'll have to look it up later. Maybe I'll do that too. That said, the two of you turn your attention back to the game. Okay, E. Oh, good. R. Okay, definitely R is next. By this point, Cove had finished his sandwich. Yours was almost gone too, but now you're getting thirsty. You brought it up to your neighbor. Should we go downstairs and get some drinks? I was thinking that too, but I don't really want to get up. Me neither. You looked over at him, narrowing your eyes with false suspicion. But hey, what happened to you not being able to get up ever again because you were stuck to the floor? That's still true. I mean, we're not actually going, are we? I only thought about it. You rolled your eyes and dropped the issue defeated. Cove grinned a little at your disappointment over his victory. R. Blank R what? Yep, that's right. Blank R. Each? Nope, not that either. Gonna add an arm now. Man. Okay, I did A, E, I, O. O? Okay. That's another one. You. You're really close. You. Yeah. You are. What? L? Oh, I might win this. You are. D? Only one leg left. Good luck. Oh no, I don't know. You are what? You are. Oh my gosh. You're definitely gonna. Oh. Wait, I entered it. You are cute. Oh no. Why am I blushing in real life? This is a fake game. They knew they were gonna say that. Why am I getting all. Oh no. That was the phrase that Cove had spent so long settling on. You stared at it. A few correct letters in, you had a feeling you knew what the phrase was. I really didn't, but okay. Still, you felt butterflies in your stomach at seeing it clear as day on the paper. You took in the words for a moment longer, then you looked up at Cove. He had trouble meeting your shocked gaze, a smile setting awkwardly on his lips. His next words left him in a mumble. It was all I could think of at the time. I'll just cover my face. Suddenly, you had trouble meeting his eyes too. Your hands came up to hide your flushed features from his sight. I can't believe you. Cove smiled a bit more, clearly still feeling awkward about the move he pulled. He turned away from you, his cheeks tinted pink. A moment passed between the two of you. Now would be the perfect time to change the subject, but you didn't. He didn't either. Things started feeling a bit more personal all of a sudden. You looked into Cove's ocean eyes and saw yourself staring back. I really think you're cute. Seriously. Cove's features softened at yours, but he remained serious. Thanks. I meant it too. Finally, he broke the eye contact. I've heard at some point you're supposed to start liking types of people, guys or girls or whoever. I haven't really noticed that yet. Nothing's changed. Not in a big way. Not for everybody. Maybe I have to grow up more, but at least with... You waited, but he trailed off. He wasn't going to keep talking. You pouted. You wanted him to finish his thought. At least what? You shook off the strangeness of the situation and tried to be supportive. Maybe you just don't like anybody. Or maybe you like all types of people. That's normal too. Cove seemed to appreciate the thought, if the smile that appeared on his lips was any indication. But the expression was quick to disappear. He peered over at you, looking nervous. Okay, what about you? What kind of guy or person do you like? He winced and seemed to be mentally kicking himself for saying it like that. Oh, he considered his question carefully. Did you know who or what you liked? I only seen it in specific cases. You didn't really have a physical interest in other people. You didn't think you could tell if you had an interest in people physically. There was only one person you'd ever had those kinds of feelings for. That's the most romantic option. You're starting to have romantic attraction. There was only one. I'm gonna pick the most romantic. I feel like that's romantic. But specifically, when it came to how you felt towards boys, sure, I like guys. And how you felt towards girls, sure. I'm not. There could be an exception. Who knows? People who aren't exclusive of male or female. I don't care. I don't really care. You return your attention toward Cove. Here's the tea. This is about Cove. I like fictional people. That's the tea. He was waiting patiently for your response. Sure, I'll tell him. He listened intently, taking in every word as you tried to convey how you felt. He definitely perked up a bit when you mentioned having some interest in romantic relationships. Then he scratched the back of his head, sheepish. I'm not really sure how we ended up talking about all this when we started out just playing Hangman, but it was good, I think. It's good to have those talks. It's good to express things and get an understanding of things, because if you never talk about those things, they'll become so, stuck in your head that you will never be able to speak about them. I know that I really, struggle talking about anything very emotional just because it's just not my thing. So I think it's good that even as a middle schooler, I think this is middle school, they're having this discussion as friends and being able to just be I think there were options to even say, I don't know, and I think that was really smart and nice, and I think that shows good signs for these two fictional characters who have no real life consequences. Cove chuckled a little bashfully. He glanced around, clearly scrambling for something else to say. So, have you learned any new songs on your clarinet lately? Oh, yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot to tell you. The conversation took a lighter turn after that, and it felt like you got closer that afternoon. Finally, the blazing sun began to set. To your relief, the air cooled down a bit as a result. You pulled yourself off the floor, as did Cove, with some minor complaint. You both stretched your arms, groaning, and yawned into your hands. You glanced out your window briefly, taking in the soft reds, pinks, and purples of the late afternoon sky. Somehow you had made it through the scorching hot day in one piece. Cove turned towards you, motioning towards your window with his chin. Wanna go outside? Might be better out there than it is here now. Let's do it! I'm sick and tired of being cooped up inside all day. The two of you took your time heading downstairs. You stopped briefly to grab a drink of water, then continued on your way. You stepped outside, one after the other, your destination being the familiar hills behind your house. This time of day it was quiet outside. The flowers blew gently in the wind, petals trembling, but stubbornly hanging in there. You felt the breeze cool your heated skin, and you relaxed your shoulders. Cove closed his eyes, releasing a deep breath. I really love it out here. Your opinion sure has changed since you were first on this hill. Cove chuckled, not even attempting to deny your words. A beat passed, but his gaze didn't stray from your own. His voice was impossibly soft when he spoke up again. I'm glad I met you, Jamie. You're really important to me, you know. Oh, I feel the same. Your voice came out equally delicate. From the way his features brightened, though, you knew he heard you. Then Cove reached over and held your hand without another word. Aww. Even as the sun disappeared completely and the sky darkened, you and Cove remained side by side for as long as you possibly could. Oh, that was so adorable! I really enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. I guess I'll see you next time. I hope you have a good day, good week, good year, good life. Alright, bye!